Everyone here will answer it a little bit differently based on their background and sort of what area of music they work in. But for me, I think it really sort of boils down, to a few sort of key elements, and that's really access. So access between artists and their fan base. Am I not loud enough? Is this better? Okay, sorry guys. So yeah, access. I think this is something that's incredibly important, and is something that we see a lot of working, really closely with a lot of artists, especially some independent artists like Pretty Lights, who is someone who I work really closely with. He's an artist that would not have existed if were it not for basically the current landscape and ecosystem that technology has really enabled for artists to be able to reach their fans directly. He started in 2006 and just put all of his music up on the internet for free, because that was the only way he had to really get it out there without any sort of traditional music industry support. And now it's ballooned. He's a globally touring artist, and all of that happened because the right community found his music, loved it, were passionate about it, and shared it with each other, and none of that would have been possible without technology, without social media. So I think that's one of the most important things. Also, just again, the relationships that are possible because of technology between artists and fans. So Eminem is another artist we work with. He, a couple months ago, just went onto Facebook, said, "Hey guys, I'm here, ask me anything you want," and spent an hour actually dialoguing directly with his audience, which, if we think about that 5-10 years ago, the thought of an artist of that scale being able to do that and have a direct conversation with individual fan members is crazy. To me, it's mind-boggling in how incredible and powerful that sort of new opportunity for relationships is. And then the other really big thing to me, and this is where sort of I make my living, is just the power that technology gives us for building artists and music businesses and brands. So, that's something that we really focus on is leveraging those relationships that are empowered by technology and social media to grow an artist brand, grow a festival's brand, and to turn that into an actual business that can support, the artist and also the team that's helping them to get to where they need to go. So that's things like, leveraging social to drive merchandising sales and ticket sales, and of course, music sales as well. It's something that's incredibly important. And then I think also just getting back to that, building the brand. Mysteryland, for example, is a festival that we work with here in the States. They're launching here for the first year after having had a successful run in Holland for 20 years, actually the longest running electronic music festival in the world. And they started here from nothing, and in the course of less than 4 months, we grew their audience 1,000%, just by being really active and engaging a community on social media. And again, not something that would have been possible 5 probably, but especially 10 years ago. So those are the 4 things I think sort of really speak to what music and technology means. Again, I don't really feel like there's a perfect answer because there's so many possible answers. And those 2 things are so absolutely codependent at this point.
You can go on the floor.
Hi, I'm Jon Richter from Nugsnet. I work for a tech company that does digital distribution for fiercely independent music artists. Our primary clients are Pearl Jam, Metallica, Fish. We've worked with the Philadelphia Orchestra. We work with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. So really any artist that can sell a lot of live tickets is an artist that our model works for. In regard to the question of music and tech, truthfully, your answer is so full and complete, and you're doing such a great job. But the first thing that jumped out to me was money. Yeah. Music and tech equals money. I mean, that's where we see it. But to be specific about that, what I mean is that technology gives you options to help unlock artists' content to provide revenue streams in ways that I don't think artists have heretofore seen. So the reality from where I sit, and again I'm a small music company, is that the perspective we bring to the table is we are wine bottlers, we're not wine makers. The wine makers are the performers and the songwriters, the people who are really creating the content. But we are the bottlers, and our job is really to make sure that the customer gets that wine how they want it. And if it's in a box, or if it's in a jar, or if it's in some glass or bottle, or some straw we haven't even seen yet, we need to be on top of those curves. So from where I sit, the options that you can provide your ultimate user will determine the revenue you can generate from your music. because we're really in a new world. Our business model, our primary one, comes from something from the 50s. Johnson & Johnson was looking for a way to boost revenues, and they found it in 3 words at a guy in marketing, and those words were rinse and repeat. And so for anyone who's buying shampoo, the words rinse and repeat end up boosting sales about 20% for Johnson & Johnson. And you don't need to wash your hair twice. I mean, it's kind of silly. You wash your hair once. Shampoo, it's not. But the people who did rinse and repeat were buying so much more shampoo that it boosted sales. So that's really the essence of our model. And what I mean by that is we like to capture people at the show. So if there's a live performance, we're going to sell you the access from your own bedroom to watch that live performance via a webcast, which is really just a live internet broadcast. And then once that's done, we're going to take that content as soon as possible and make it available to you on the internet for sale in MP3s, in audio downloads, in high-resolution formats ranging from CDs, lossless FLAC files, high-resolution 24-bit files, whatever the bottle the customer wants for the wine. And then beyond that, ultimately we can repackage things, box sets, remaster, trying to tie different artist content together. We're seeing a lot of sales growth in things like bundling products. I know it seems kind of basic, but all those marketing things that you think are reserved to business really apply in our entities too. If we can sell MP3s with a CD for a reduced rate, we have a really large upsell there. So we're able to take that original performance and reuse it to generate 2, 3, 4 revenue streams for the artists. Our revenue stream is kind of unique in that most artists are generally used to, if there's a certain number of people in the house, they know how many tickets they've sold, and at the time they're settling with the promoter or whoever they're settling with that night, they know, what they've made and they're moving on to the next show. But that's actually where we start. That's where this type of digital distribution begins, is when they're done with the performance. Well, let's actually take that content and see how we can get it to your fans, free, paid, live, etc., and try to see what we can do to get that music out there, to generate a lot of focus around the live music industry. And I kind of focus on live music, even though I'm a product guy, a service industry and a product guy. The live music industry is where it's all at. About 14 years ago, in 2001, the industry was about a $50, $60 billion industry. I'm talking about recorded music sales. And as of about 2 years ago, that we had retracted to about $5 to $6 billion in recorded content sales. So there's been a major reduction in the amount of money that's gone into people buying music. Now, that being said, even 1% of that is $50 million, and that's enough for us. I mean, we're not that shit. We're not trying to go for much more than that. So, and for all you guys out there too who are thinking, a small sliver of this industry is still more than enough to make you all rich if you come up with the right way of doing it. So, interestingly enough, as an aside on the point of contraction, I understand that when vinyl was released, in terms of archive releases, the way when vinyl went to CD, you're talking about a factor of reduction almost identical to what we've seen in recorded sales, a factor of 10, from 50 to 60 billion to 5 billion. Well, when we used to have, let's say, 100x amount of vinyl, when they went to CD, that became 10x amount of recordings. So the amount of musical recordings that were available when they digitized to CD reduced by a factor of 10. And my understanding is that when we've gone from CD now to digital download, it's been another 10-factor reduction. So in terms of the available music that's out there, we've got 100x that's waiting, and 1% of it currently digitized. So any of you guys are looking to need business models, there's a lot of music out there to be tapped. But just the point is that the industry, even though it's contracting, still is large enough, and there's enough creativity to go about and make money. Our artists traditionally make 5, 6, 7 figures. So you can make anywhere from thousands to millions if you embrace these kind of ideas. I don't know how much time I have left, I don't want to go too long, but in terms of the hard formats that we work with, what we're seeing is a really big shift in how consumers are buying music. And it's fascinating. People talk about streaming, we'll touch on that if we get to it, but right now we're still seeing the majority of music being consumed through downloads. And our numbers reflect about a 60% uptake in MP3s, about 30% in high-resolution files, either 24-bit or even just lossless FLAC CD quality, and about 10% in CD sales. And that seems to mirror the general trending we've seen with a lot of the artists and labels that we're talking to these days, like a 60-30-10 split. That being the case, the high-resolution side is growing, and we're seeing much more profitability on it, because if we can sell the same thing, again, for twice as much money as an MP3. If an MP3 is $10 and we can sell $25 or a lossless file for 20 or 25, again, we're taking this product and turning it into something that creates much more value for the artist. I mentioned webcasting before.